In this week's episode, we'll be talking about some disturbing sexual education material that has caused a lot of uproar in both the Netherlands and Sweden. Are the lines of what is PG blurring? And should children under the age of 4 learn about masturbation as they have the right to explore gender identities according to the World Health Organization? I'm not so sure. More on that later. First, Sweden has been startled by the murder of 5 women in the last 3 weeks. What happened? And what was the response from the Swedish politicians? Well, let's talk about it. With me today in the studio, I have my colleague Emmy, with whom I'll be discussing all of these topics. But first, let's go into the kind of scandal that we have seen around Sweden and actually also in the Netherlands. Emmy, tell me what happened here in Sweden. What did Riks actually uncover?
Yeah, so Riks uncovered that there was very inappropriate sexual material that was made available at a library in Sweden, and this was made available for very young children. I mean, there's pictures, very inappropriate pictures that I'm sure we'll see here soon.
Ooh, okay, well, let's take a look at them. I've already seen them, but I think for our viewers at home, yeah, I'm sorry, you have to see this because this is what apparently 12-year-olds are seeing, right?
Yep.
Because Riks came to this information because a 12-year-old boy apparently had seen this and was so sort of disturbed by it that he told his father about
Exactly.
it. So otherwise we would even not have known that our kids are viewing this type
and as you guys saw, these images are just really inappropriate. They're honestly just gross. I mean, I would even go as far as calling it that. I mean, it's one thing that adults want to do this type of thing, but I don't think it's appropriate to make it available for children, obviously.
No, clearly. I mean, the images look scary. It's like the stuff of nightmares.
Absolutely.
And I think, I mean, obviously I wouldn't, as a child, I wouldn't want to see this. As an adult, I don't even want to see this.
Exactly.
But what is it written next to these horrible graphic images? Like, what are they saying?
Yeah, so they were actually saying that anal sex is a gender-neutral form of sex. And also they were explaining how to do so-called fisting. So you can just imagine how inappropriate this is for young children to see.
Fisting in a school library to...
Oh, it's horrifying. It really is. And this has
12-year-olds.
created, of course, a storm on social media. And I'm not surprised. I mean, people were very upset about this.
But who created these folders or these pamphlets? Like, who made these?
Yeah, I mean, these are 3 associations. There's RFSL, there's RFSU, and then the youth branch of RFSU who made these materials available. And these are associations that they teach the public about sexual health. And one of these associations also focuses on LGBTQ rights and so on.
Okay, and from what I've gathered, these are associations that are actually funded
by the taxpayer.
Right.
So we have to pay for this type of propaganda that's coming out to our children, unfortunately.
Right. So this is state-funded, taxpayers' money that's going into these types of horrific images to basically indoctrinate our children that this is normal.
That's how I would describe it too, absolutely.
Right. Okay, well... Sadly enough, not just Sweden has had an issue with this. In the last week in Holland, we've seen a very similar type of scandal play out. Let me just show you a little bit of what's been going on there. Watch. Yeah, so I just showed only a short clip. This is basically the introduction that these videos all have. And these are videos that are made actually for a channel called School TV. If that, I mean, yeah, right? So
inappropriate, yes.
This is a school television and they make all sorts of content like for educational purposes. So they also make apparently sex educational material.
And what age is this directed to?
Well, that was the sort of the center of the uproar. It was that this particular video that we've just shown the intro of is called, yes, there we go, All Go Anal. So it's like basically inviting people to go and have anal sex. And the age that was listed for it was actually, it was catered towards 13 to 15-year-olds.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised to hear that these things are also happening in Holland, they're happening in Sweden. And I just think that, it's basically government propaganda, that's all it is.
Yeah, because this is also paid for by the state. So this is
State
again,
TV.
State TV, taxpayers' money going into literally like educating our children on, well, all go anal. Another video was called Swallow Bitch, the tight little hole. Love your little cunt. Yeah, I don't know if I can say that on here, but I just apparently you know, if this is good enough for our children, then I should be able to say it on YouTube, I guess.
Exactly, and I think something that conservatives always talk about is, of course, family. We talk about marriage a lot, and we talk about, you know, what's best for our children and so on. But you can see that when the left controls things, and when the left gets a hold of our institutions, this is what happens. I mean, it turns into these crazy things that are completely inappropriate for children, and that's why I think you and I both agree that this is a form of propaganda. I mean, it is.
Right, because, I mean, this is not anymore about sexual education. I mean, come
No.
on, we obviously aren't against that.
Right.
It's very important that kids, well, from a certain age at least, know what sex is and what type of consequences it has, because we obviously don't want young teenagers to fall pregnant or
Right.
to, you know, attract all these STIs or STDs,
Right.
what's the word?
Yeah.
You know, like those types of things we obviously need to teach our
Yeah, like
kids
safe
about.
sex is completely appropriate.
Right, but I don't know if anal fisting is one
Not
of
so
the
much.
topics that we need to discuss with, 12-year-olds.
Exactly.
So maybe not, right? So on from this disturbing news to another more disturbing and more serious news that I would say is something that has happened in Sweden over the last couple of weeks. So there was a major political uproar because in the last 3 weeks, Sweden has seen 5 murders happen, 5 times a female victim. And the political response has been really intense. Take a look.
Kvinnan avled senare av sina skador och en man, Haider al-Faili, är nu misstänkt för mord. Mannen och kvinnan hade en relation. Tolk närvarade vid häktningsframställan. 15 april, Linköping. En 44-årig kvinna överfölls brutalt vid en tågstation i Linköping. Giuliano Sassiri, som är exman till kvinnan, är känd av polisen sedan tidigare och Giuliano saknar svensk medborgarskap. Paret hade 9 barn tillsammans. 15 april, Nacka. En kvinna i 20-årsåldern hittades död i en bostad i Nacka i Stockholm. I bostaden fanns även en bebis. Misstänkt och häktad är kvinnans sambo, Ruben Appelblom, som tidigare var en lovande fotbollsspelare. Han nekar till anklagelserna. 17 april, Alvesta. En kvinna mördades på öppen gata av en man i 35-årsåldern. Omar Sissoko kunde gripas i en lägenhet i anslutning till den misstänkta attacken.
So, Emmy, as we've just seen, 5 women have been murdered over the time period of only 3 weeks in Sweden. And these women didn't know each other, right? Like, what happened?
So these were, of course, 5 women who were murdered by men, and this has created a lot of reactions, not only amongst the political class, but also on social media, of course. And of course, it was very gruesome to read about these attacks. I mean, they were violent, they were actually very gruesome. And, you know, we can see that this is a broader societal development. I mean, we're seeing these types of crimes increase, and it's terrifying.
These crimes against women, violence against women.
Right.
And why would you say that is? What is the development that's not being discussed here?
I mean, I think that, well, first of all, a majority of the perpetrators in these attacks were actually, in these murders, were immigrants. And that's not something that our politicians are really talking about. I mean, the response has been that, oh, we need more gender studies and more feminism in order to deal with these issues. They talk
Right.
about toxic masculinity, for example, and they're saying that this is an issue about all men, but we actually know that, according to several studies, that migrant men are overrepresented in crime.
Talking about gender studies, I've seen your Minister of Equality, my favorite minister in Sweden, of course, comment on this event and saying that, and I quote, "The first thing I think is that we have a deep societal problem in that we still, in 2021, have raised boys and men to beat women. There is a destructive male norm that we must overcome." End of the citation.
Right. I mean, I agree that it's a toxic male norm to murder women, to attack women in this gruesome way. But again, I mean, we see that certain groups are overrepresented in violent crime. So why aren't we talking about that? Why isn't she raising the issue of that we need to decrease immigration now, for example? Why isn't that one of the
Close
solutions?
borders.
But she is, of course, a part of the environmental party. Her name is Märta Stenevi, who you just cited there. And they want open borders. So
Right.
how does that, I'm not really seeing the logic there.
Well, it doesn't. I mean, first of all, talking about toxic masculinity in this case is just completely ridiculous. I mean, we've seen this type of response from the left all the time because it's a way for them to not have to talk about the fact that they are the ones that have been pushing policies that have put women at risk.
Exactly.
More so, way more than this sort of imaginary toxic masculinity that they keep on talking about, which according to them would affect all men.
Yes.
But it's clearly not all men.
Yeah, and it's not even only immigration. I mean, the left, how long has the left argued that, oh, well, tougher jail sentences, they don't help.
Right.
You know, we just need to have more education. I mean, that's been their response here in Sweden, at least everything. I don't know what it's like in Holland, but the left doesn't like tougher punishments.
Tougher punishments.
But still, I mean, there are still feminists and politicians coming out now saying that, oh, we need tougher punishment. But it's like, well...
Since when?
Since when? You haven't said that in the last 20 years, so what's going on? Yeah.
Well, I think they're kind of starting to feel the heat a little bit coming to them. And actually, this Minister of Equality hasn't been the only one coming up with these sort of band-aid, I would say, solutions to this issue. I saw that also somebody from your center party has had a pretty strange sort of approach to it.
Yeah, so what the Center Party is talking about and what they have talked about previously is to make controlling behavior illegal. So what do they mean by controlling behavior? So it means everything from the use of harsh words or derogatory words. It can be just things that aren't really... I mean, their fundamental argument is that it doesn't start with the violence usually in these types of relationships. So it's usually it starts with derogatory comments and then it leads to violence. So they're saying in order to prevent the violence, we need to stop and make the derogatory comments illegal and the controlling behavior illegal.
So basically we're going to make painful words illegal once again.
That's basically what they're saying.
Well, that seems to be a returning theme for the left, right? To control speech?
Yeah.
I mean, because this would basically end up in what type of situation? I mean, any marital couple, any couple for that matter, sometimes, I know you're not supposed to say it, but everybody sometimes shouts at each other, you know, like that happens.
Yes.
Is that now supposed to be then made illegal? Are we going to have phone calls every time that your significant other like snaps at you to the police, like, to the police, my boyfriend's been mean to me, please help?
Exactly. That's kind of what this can turn into. I mean, it can be used in a bad way. I mean, you can abuse that system so easily. And again, what you're saying, and I completely agree with you, it's band-aid solutions. This doesn't solve the core issue here. Like we said, an overwhelming majority of these people are migrants who are committing these crimes. Why aren't we talking about the real issues?
Yeah, cultural issues is what you're getting at, I suppose, right?
Yeah,
I mean, this is clearly it's band-aid solutions, like you said.
Yeah.
And also it's, again, I mean, it's so patronizing as well. I don't need the state to come out and say, oh, we're going to make sure that your significant other can't say hurtful things to you anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about that.
Yeah.
I don't want the state in my private life. I want the state to make sure that I can go out on the streets at night without being harassed by men.
And speaking of that, this is actually the same center party who constantly votes against increasing the punishment for violence against women. That's what they do all the time. And yet they come out now and they're saying, oh, we care so much about women, but I'm not really seeing the evidence for it.
Right. I mean, this whole debate about security, actually, I think kind of this has taken over, even in the right wing, or what we would say the center right. You know, they start talking about things like security now, like, oh, we have a security issue.
Yeah.
But these are parties all over Europe that have been governing our countries for years on end. And then suddenly we have a security issue. I mean, even Macron gave an interview just the other day for Le Figaro, and he was talking about how, you know, important security is for the elections of 2022. And he said, and I'll quote, "Je me bats pour le droit à la vie paisible." So meaning, I will fight for the right of a peaceful life. Okay. So why is your life not peaceful, Macron? Like, you've been in power for the last 4 years. Like, what are you talking about? You know, name the real issue here.
Yeah, exactly.
But they all refuse to do that. So they
never really want to talk about real issues. They just want to put these band-aid policies in place, and they want to pose and write articles and make it look like they care. But honestly, they're not really doing much for women.
Right, because as we all know, the left will prefer to have a mental safe space for you than to actually have you enjoy security and safety in the streets. Well, that was enough for today. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you in our next episode. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Let's Talk About It. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Emmy. Again, a little bit of a different format. We're still in the phase of experimenting here. So let me know if you liked this type of longer conversation. And if you did, then please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.